I've heard a lot of information on the military and how women are being integrated into the military, but I'm kind of unclear on where exactly women stand in the military. Like, can they be at, like, in first-hand, like, combat, or are they driving tanks, or are they still on the back there? I'm kind of confused exactly where women lie in the military right now.
I start, you finish? In a conflict like we have now these days, it is not 1-on-1. There is no front line of the battlefield. It is guerrilla warfare to some degree, and so a woman is likely to be engaged in combat in any circumstance, running a supply route, being a cook, a secretary, some kind of clerk who's en route somewhere. So that concept of a forward line of the battlefield is gone. Integrating, well, I mean, there are still jobs that are off limits, and she's Marine, so Marine's different from Army, but it does change over time. Okay, there was a big stink when the conflict in Iraq started that Congress upheld one of its previous legislative acts that limited women from being in direct ground combat. However, they have re-looked it multiple times because repeatedly women are in ground combat. So jobs are changing. Do I think women will ever be able to be infantrymen? Not in my lifetime. But there are advances. As I said before, the job that I went to in the 18th Airborne Corps had previously been coded men only. So there will continue to be such changes. Does that answer your question?
Doesn't the Marine Corps also bar women from frontline duty?
Like you can't be a grunt, you can't be infantry, you cannot be tank, you can't be artillery. But I was a diesel mechanic. I was in motor T company, and my specific MOS was considered combat of arms MOS, mainly for the fact that because I was a mechanic always goes out on a convoy. Now, that convoy, most of the time, there's threats ongoing, so the chances of engaging in combat are really high. And if I was a female in the convoy as a mechanic, I would be in a combat situation.
In a sense, you're support staff, except you're right in the same situation as the guys with the big guns.
Right.
Yeah.
So I wasn't technically considered, frontline in part of the combat situation because of my job and like running supply lines or even somebody who had an admin job, a desk job. If they were at one base and they had to go to another forward operating base that was 2 hours away, they had to go by convoy. If that convoy got engaged by combat, she would there then be in a combat situation.
Right.
So, but I did hear a couple rumors a few years ago that I was the only female in my company as a mechanic. There's a couple operators, it's a completely different job, the ones that drive the vehicles. I fixed them, but there was a rumor that because my MOS was considered combative arms, that they were going to stop recruiting females to do that job because it's a combat arms MOS.
And sometimes you had no choice. When I was in Korea, I essentially gave some infantry commanders the option of, I have 65% women. I had this disproportionate number of women at one point. Yeah, and I was like, if you want my smoke tracks, you're getting women, and you need to figure it out. So,